Yeah. So there comes an event that changes things around. It's um, it's like a battle of good and evil in a way. Except there's no real good, there's no real evil. But there's a book that I've been reading here. It's called Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's Counsel in the Time of War, and I believe the text that I have was firstly written maybe a couple of thousand years ago, but it has been passed around by the word of mouth. I presume. When it comes to stuff like this, it's really hard to say what really happened because we're not there. And this event here takes place about 6,000 years ago in India, but we don't know how. Well, yeah, we know some stuff. So this place takes, or some other mystical place, but this thing here is more of a metaphor, and it transcends space and time. So it doesn't really matter where it takes place or when it takes place. What matters is that there is war, and like every other war, or well, every other war, I presume, because that's the way it seems. This war is all about greed. Of course, there are such things as religious wars. Oh, they're called religious wars. You know, like yeah, we'll fight because we want religion we want to bring religion to this barbarians, but actually, all wars are fought because of greed. You know, some pope, some king, some I don't know monk decides, hey, my monastery is not big enough. Oh, my monks, I want to conquer the neighboring monasteries and put my monks in charge of the other monks. So, because it doesn't really matter whether a person a monk or a king or a beggar or whatever. People are who they are. Not people are people. They're not ranked by their rank or status or social position. People and really basically what you see is what you get. Um, so even a monk can go to hell. You know, just because a person is a monk or a nun doesn't make her any better than anybody else. You know, just because a person has $1 million doesn't make him smarter. Just because a person is a president doesn't make him wiser. I gotta think about presidents. They are stupid people. I I don't know if these presidents uh, read their own speeches, right? I know they don't write their own speeches, so from what I see, the job of a president is to uh, look at the camera and look like they know what they're talking about and talk in an inspirational voice. But they're not saying their own words. Sometimes they don't even know what they're gonna say, and they see something that is really ridiculous because the writer made a typo or something, and they're like, uh, you know, they say the typo and without realizing what they talk about. That's one thing I wanna say. A lot of times people are not aware of how they speak to others. We're usually aware of how others speak to us. And so if we are being called by some ugly name, somebody is insulting us, someone tries to hurt our self demeanor, somebody tries to put you down, we know that people are doing it, When people insult us in subtle ways. Some people insult in very gross ways. Some people insult in very subtle ways. But people who are insult, they insult, and unfortunately, they don't realize that they're doing it because when they themselves are insulted, whether it's gross or subtle, they go into rage. I've been experimenting. I've been looking at people all my life, and people are very, very. I don't know. I would say robotic, karmic. It's like how they're programmed. That's how they act. Of course, everybody can change their program, but very few people come to realize that they're programmed, that they're programming themselves, and they're acting without consciousness. It's like being in a dream. I was talking to my uncle the other day, and we had a nice conversation. We were friendly, and then I started saying something that he didn't disagree. He disagreed or something, or I was just talking about something that he didn't like. I'm not sure. It's not like I read his mind. I don't read people's minds. But the guy like talking, then he just called me a name and threatened to kill me. And I'm like, did you just threaten to kill me? And he's like 5 minutes later, I'm like, dude, did you just hear what you say? Do you remember threatening to kill me? He's like, no, I never threatened to kill you. I'm like, dude, remember you called me that name? He's like, no, I never called you that name. I said, you know what? I'll talk to you when you wake up because if you don't know what you're saying, if you don't know what you're talking about, what point for me is to talk to you? You're not talking to me. You're talking to yourself or something. So I kind of left, and I didn't talk to him for a while. But I'm a nice guy. I I heard his silent apology, and I made him apologize afterwards too. So, because people are really really proud, and I'm one of them. I you gotta have certain self-respect. You know, you don't put yourself on a big pedestal and say, "Oh, if you call me a bad name, I will kill you." That's stupid. Because people, they sometimes they might call you a bad name and they don't even know that what they're doing. So the only thing that you can do, you can kind of forgive, but once things happen often and often, you gotta cut things out. You gotta put people in their place. Because if you don't put people in their place, they will walk over your back. Like, that's how things are. People, they're controlling. People are control. Me, I don't know about myself. I like I like control of no control. I like things. I like to be on the side, just observing things happening. Things happen as they are. Let them happen. Let things solve themselves up. And if things are really breaking apart and it's like really really breaking, I might step in and do my little thing and fix a little here, do a little here. Then they want to disappear because I don't want to be in charge of anything. I'm already in charge of myself, more or less, and that's a big responsibility. But it's not like I don't like doing anything. I do things. Just I'm not too involved in doing a lot of things. I like other people to do things because we all have to. Um, we all have to job to do here. Like right now, my job is to sit here and to um, talk to a microphone and assume that there's somebody listening. And if somebody is listening, you can call me 935 to 951. Speaking of listening, There's a thing that I was supposed to do. I didn't do it yet. So here it is. This is a disclaimer. Welcome to Chili Chill and Friends. My name is Chili Chill. And I am the producer of this show. The things you will hear over the next 2.5 hours represent the view of Chili Chill and Friends, and the people making them. All opinions and quotations in no way represent River West Radio and are the sole responsibility of the producer, guest, and callers. River West Radio is not liable for any legal issues arising from the content of this program. Now that's done. I'm gonna read something to you guys. I went to Poets Monday at Linneman's. It's like I think it's the oldest poetry night in Milwaukee. Originally, it started back on Prospect, maybe 25 years ago, and now it's Linneman's on Mondays. It's a really nice place. Usually, well, not usually, but always, there is there's a main poet performing somewhere from 1 hour to 2 hours, or sometimes half an hour, depending on who it is. And there's also people who want to sign up and read a few poems of their own. Not a lot, not like major, but 2, 3 poems. Or 1 poem, or sometimes 4 poems, but not for too long, just for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 minutes. People do it in the beginning of a show and the end, after the main speaker. So sometimes the whole thing goes until 12 o'clock, and sometimes it lingers all the way until 2, till closing time. I'm gonna be a featured poet in January 16th, and hope you guys stop by. So yesterday I went up there, and I got one of their books. They have a magazine of their poetry. It's called Poets Monday Grab Bag, and this one is from winter 2011 and 2012. So, I think it's a year old. I guess they don't make it often. But there is 21 poems out here by 21 poets. And I'm gonna open it in the middle and read a poem to you guys. Now this one is called Flying Lessons. It is written by Mario. Mario is you gotta admit, the guy, he's one of a kind. Super, super, super great person. And an inspirational poet. So I would love to do this poem in the Mario's voice, but I don't think I'll be able to. I'll try. There is beauty in a bleeding nostril, music in the bruises and agony of defeat. If you were to pay attention to the lacerations across your open skull, you might hear God whispering. Get up, try again. If you're still breathing, there's still more fight in your beautiful, serenading flesh. Giving in should be reserved for the dead. Take your falls like lessons, your losses as experience. Be thankful for them. They are lessons. Study them and learn to fly. That was good, wasn't it? Bravo, Mario. I couldn't read it in Mario's voice There's only one Mario, and he's an inspirational poet. Um, but I think I did a pretty good job. It's a great poem, I thought. So, um, yeah, this book is called Bhagavad Gita. I already read 12 chapters up here online. I got it. I got this version translated by Barbara Stoller Miller in Chicago from a friend I've met at the Vipassana meditation retreat in Rockford, Illinois. Yeah, he was an interesting cat. Uh, he met me up there. He says, "Oh, I'm from Chicago. We might stop by the um, Chicago party at Yoga Now when you get back, because our thing ended on Sunday." And I linked up with this film director producer guy from Chicago, and he let me stay over his house for a few days, because I went to this retreat, and afterwards I felt so out of town. I didn't want to go back to Milwaukee, so I kind of chilled in Chicago for a few days. It's always nice to go meet new people, hang out in new places, see new sights and stuff like that. I love this. Traveling is awesome. And the best way to travel is to travel with people, or like travel meeting people. Nowadays they got this thing called couch surfing, couchsurfing.com, where you can link up with people in different cities and they'll let you crash on their couches. And I'm sure you can talk to them and they let you know where to go and introduce you to people and things like that. And so it's all great. There's a lot of availability of resources out there for anybody that wants to do anything. Really, I say that as it is. Anybody that wants to do anything, you can do it if you put your mind to it. It takes time and a little effort. Doesn't even take much. Of course, certain things you gotta spend a lot of time and you gotta put a lot of effort. But if you want to get into the beginning of anything, get some minor, beginner skills, few days, maybe a week, you can get it. I learned Adobe InDesign in a week. I had to do this book for my dad. Yeah, he issues a Russian community almanac every year, every couple of years, where there's some information about the city and United States and a bunch of advertisements and some interesting stories. So it's a nice little booklet. So before it was made by this lady that he knew, but now she's married and she's not doing nothing. And so he says, "Hey, you wanna do this for me?" I said, "Oh, okay." So it took me 1 week to learn, and about a few days to do. Yeah, it took me a few days to make it happen. So I'll say I spent about 40 hours on the whole thing, including learning and making it, which is very nice. I'm not a smart person. I'm kind of intelligent. I'm kind of slow too. I'm very ordinary, very average. So when I say, "Oh, like I did it in 40 hours," you can do it in 30 hours if you really want to. Really, man, like people who are sharp, uh, they can probably tackle such thing like learning and making it happen in 20. People who are maybe, a little more spacey, uh, they'll take 60 hours. Really. But 60 or 40 or 20, it's not a lot of hours. Talk about 1,000 hours. Now that's a plenty of hours. Certain things takes 1,000 hours to do. Like when it comes to Tai Chi Chuan, 10 years. 10 years to pass the beginner stage. Once you jump into the intermediate stage, then maybe 50 years. So it's 10 years to beginning, 50 years to intermediate. 6 years pass by. Now you're an old man. Now you get to the master stage. Some people they really fast, they really speed it up. They really speed it up, and well, through practicing more than average, and they get there a little faster. So instead of maybe taking 60 years, they'll get there in 40. Of course, some men or women, not animals. Animals, I don't know if animals can do Tai Chi. They are already in Chi. Animals are already alert. And some of them are already relaxed, like cats. But people, if they really try, they can make it into 20 years. They can get to a master's level, like big master, not like a little master, like big master. There's this guy. His name is Adam Schaefer, I believe. Now he is 33, 34, 35, something like that. And he came to town this year. He started practicing Tai Chi when he was 15, and now 20 years later, and a few really good teachers, he his skills, from what I hear by the super duper good guys of Milwaukee, are amazing. Our star student and teacher, because people who go to school and who teach in school are all students of all teachers. There's a bottomless well of Tao, of Tai Chi. It gets deeper and deeper and deeper. So we always have to keep our minds open and learn from ourselves and learn from the environment and learn from emptiness. So this book, Gita, there's a battle going on. Two cousins are fighting. One cousin decided that, I'm not sure exactly the story, because this is a big old collection of books concerning this whole thing. But this is just a story of a battle, and it's actually a teaching about the ultimate reality. And so one cousin, I think some king died, and one cousin did not like the the land that he got. He wanted more land, and his other cousin got it because the grandpa liked him more or something. So he decided to get all his army and go conquer his cousin. And his cousin is Arjuna, and he's a good guy. On his side is his best friend Krishna, and Krishna, he's this kid man that was born blue to a noble royal family, but he's not a prince or a king. He's more of a friend. So when he was growing up, he was slaying a lot of monsters because he had superpowers, and he was naughty. He did a lot of pranks. So he made a lot of pranks, and he made a lot of friends. Um, had a lot of girlfriends. Mm, yeah, that was basically Krishna. That's all He slayed monsters, had a lot of girlfriends, and made a ton of friends. But he also was God. Like we say in Christianity, there's a Trinity. There's the God, and there is the Father, and there is the Holy Spirit, and all three are one. And everybody points at Jesus, like Jesus, that's God. Well, here we have Krishna, that's God. So it's a little different from Christianity, where Jesus was Jesus, and Krishna is well, like blue, like a fighter and a lover and a monster slayer. And also the teachings that Jesus gave, we don't have. Unfortunately, they were lost, and the only thing that we do have is pieces, parts. Sometimes they're incomplete. Sometimes they're misphrased. Um, so I tell you this: you read the Bible. If things make sense to you, that's beautiful. If things don't make sense to you, well, don't treat it as if they did. Don't be naive. Don't be stupid. Don't be a follower. Don't be a leader either. Just be yourself. Know yourself. Look inside yourself and say, okay, this makes sense. This is good. I'll try to acknowledge it and try to bring it into my life. Oh, this, it doesn't make sense. This is kind of, maybe it makes sense for somebody else, not me. Well, be true to yourself, my friends. You know, don't be true to Jesus. Don't be true to Krishna. Be true to yourself. Because um, in reality, and this is in this book, this is more complete teachings about the reality of life than what we have in the Bible, like the whole entire Bible, Old Testament, New Testament, whatever. Um, is that the God, or whatever concept of you have God, you know, but the the uncreated nature of who we are, of everything, is inside ourselves. It's inside us. It is what makes us us. So you cannot find God looking outside, only within. But here you can look at Krishna and say, "Hey, Krishna, now that's my type of God." But the interesting thing about Krishna is that he gets reincarnated, because this Krishna is just an energy. It's a manifestation of the energy of truth. We call truth, let's say, dharma, and the dharma is basically truth. But we can say, oh, there is a Christian dharma, there is a Buddhist dharma, but I'm talking about just dharma as dharma, not of any quality of dharma. So truth comes on many different levels. Um, so so Krishna gets incarnated, because eventually Krishna departs. Sometimes different in different ways, and when it's time for Krishna to reappear, he reappears. So this book, there is a big battle going on. It symbolizes a battle of good versus evil and stuff like that. But nobody is really good. Nobody is really evil. There's just a little greed existing, and little people that don't know any better. You know, ignorance, greed, jealousy. You know, emotions that we all know about, except some people can't overcome them and not react towards those negative feelings and emotions, and other people, they get possessed by them and let those emotions and feelings overcome them, and then they lose their soul. And hopefully I'll get to this chapter today. I'm already I'm gonna start reading the 13th chapter. 13th chapter is called Knowing the Field. I have no idea what that means. I haven't read this book. This is the first time I'm reading it with you. So I'm not supposed to know everything. But as I read it, it kind of makes a lot of sense. So, so bear with me. In the previous 12 chapters, we talked about, well, Krishna. It's mostly Krishna talking. He's telling his buddy Arjuna about the nature of things as they are and how to find peace and how to come to know God. He basically says, well, the energy doesn't get destroyed. So to you, there is no death, there is no life, there's just existence. Everything just happens, happens, and happens, and the way the way to come to know the ultimate nature, God, is to let go of liking things, being attached, not liking things, but being attached to things that are pleasurable and being averse by things that you don't like, and just basically abide in equanimity, when everything is of the same taste, and go within, get your mind really sharp and one pointed, and go within, put the mind on the mind, and with equanimity see the nature of it. And inside that nature, which is uncreated, unmanifested, you will know something that cannot be said in words, because it's beyond ordinary concepts. So maybe this is what this 13th chapter is about, because knowing means getting to know. Before you don't know, so you're ignorant, and then you come to know something, like I don't know, like Center Street, where we at right now. Before, you never been to Center Street, and then you come to Center Street and you're like, oh wow, look at Center Street. There's a lot of cool places here. You come to know it, and this is a field, a street, a field, a place. So a field, I think, means a place, and knowing the field would probably mean knowing the place, getting to know the place. Just, I'm not sure what kind of a place it could be. Let's just read and see, yeah? Lord Krishna, he says this. Well, speaking of, we don't need to guess. Krishna, he helps out right away. He says, the field denotes this body, and wise men call one who knows it the field knower. So I guess the field in this context represents you, me, like who we are. I only know what I know inside my mind, and I can only feel what I feel with my body. I cannot come to know anything else. But through this field that is I can know infinity. I can know God. I can know you. I can know anything there is. Because it's called the microcosm, and it's the same as the macrocosm, meaning the universe and me. It's all very interconnected. Everything is like a weaving. So get to know yourself, my friends. And once you come to know yourself, you will be called a field knower, or like a wise man that knows who he or she is. So it could be a wise woman too. Know me as the field knower in all fields. What I deem to be knowledge is knowledge of the field and its knower. Well, I think that means that what I was just talking about. Um, know me as the field knower in all fields. So once he's talking about himself here, and he is like a god, or he's not just a god because he's a god, being Krishna, and he's the god, being the absolute, the substance of reality, that which is hidden. So this I think in Buddhism we call Buddha nature, or we can just call it simply as Buddha without the nature. But I like to simplify things. But basically, what Krishna here says is that once you come to know yourself, you come to know God. And because God is everywhere, you come to know every field there is. And there's a lot of fields. There's like me, who I am. That's a field. You, who you are. That's a different field. So once you come to know yourself, to the essence, to the core, you come to know who I am, you come to know who everybody is. All there is. And coming to know that, you become a knower. Because a knower knows. You ain't gotta be an ignoramus no more. Not that you are. But there's a few things that we all are ignorant of. And yes, when it comes to astronomy, for example, I'm quite an ignoramus. But when it comes to mm, when it comes to having a good time, I'm just an Amos, like Amos and Angie. Pretty sure they had a good time. So here, from me, in summary, what the field is in its character and changes, and of the field knower's power. So here, Krishna gonna talk about what this field, meaning self, meaning who we are, is, and how it changes, and that person that knows him or herself, they acquire certain powers. Power, siddhi. Like I think, yeah, siddhi. And there's ordinary siddhi, and there is extraordinary siddhi. Like ordinary siddhi would be um, reading people's minds. Extraordinary siddhi would be uh, transporting oneself into Moscow. Like, yeah. So, that's Buddhist stuff. But we're reading Krishna, so let's read Krishna. Ancient seers have sung of this in many ways, with varied meters and with aphorisms on the infinite spirit, laced with logical arguments. So, people of old, wise men, they they wrote poetry. A lot of times, things which are spiritual are very hard to describe in dry terms, because spirituality, even though it can be scientific, yoga is like a science. We have a book in Buddha Dharma called Abhidharma, and it's very scientific. It has all the states of mind and how states cause other states. It's it's a vast volume, but but it's not experiential. You can read this book, you can read those volumes, and you can understand some of them, and you can see them, but in a form of poetry, a big book of information can be condensed into a few lines, and that's the truth. That's why people who realized certain things, they sang songs. They did not write books. Well, some wrote books too. Like first they sing a song and then they write a book chewing it up, like line by line by line by line. If you look into a whole bunch of books about Tibet, they have, oh yeah, this thing is so big, this is with this thing with, and then they have a one-page poem and a 500-page book talking about it, because each word has many subtle wisdoms in it, and they can be seen from many ways. And sometimes things, well, because the poem is like each word of a realized poem is like the top of a pyramid. So in order to understand each top of the pyramid, you gotta know the whole pyramid. You gotta know what leads to it, what leads to the top. Thus, those poems uh, are a nice read. A nice read. I recommend getting a book called, I believe, A Reign of Wisdom. I think it's called The Reign of Wisdom, and it has a lot of poems by Tibetan realized people. Some more realized than others, but they're all of the same flavor. Because realization is only one thing there is to realize, and that's the mystery. Well, the mystery is emptiness. You can talk about it, but it is an experiential thing. It's an experience to know it. And also another book that's really good about enlightened poetry is 100,000 Songs of Milarepa, or one of the few Milarepa's biographies. They have some songs, but in biography, it's mostly a story that he told himself about how Milarepa was a Tibetan saint. So his story is a very interesting one. Maybe it's American, maybe it's not. But first he kills a bunch of people. Then he almost kills himself through hard work for nothing, kind of like slavery, but not really. And then he locks himself in a bunch of caves, starves, and learns to fly. Then he flies around Tibet, drinking beer and teaching people certain yogas and how to be and how to live and how to fly. Well, this not. I don't think any of his disciples could fly like him, but a few of his disciples knew how to this art of speed walking. Speed walking is, well, you can cover 100 miles in an hour, or maybe, yeah, like 100 miles in an hour, maybe faster, maybe 100 miles in half an hour. Hmm. It's kind of, your body feels really light, and you jump as you jump, and you hop. This how you speed walk. You hop from place to place, and it has to do with mind and breath. And well, this art should not have been lost. I'm pretty sure that it has been preserved somewhere on the mountain peaks of Himalayas. But right now, we don't really know of people who can do it. So, um, we'll go on with the book. Oh yeah, yeah. I was talking about this line. So the line is: ancient seers have sung of this in many ways, with varied meters, and with aphorisms on the infinite spirit, laced with logical arguments. So it's kind of like, yeah, all those songs, they make sense. They're very logical, but at the same time, they are transcendental, and they point through logic into something that is illogical. So, or it is logical, it's just not conceivable, because it's uncreated, and everything you conceive, you create. You create a thought, you create an idea in your mind. Thus, you can see something out like, oh yeah, I know what this is, but this is the unknown. This is death. Ah, so the field contains the great elements: individuality, understanding, unmanifest nature, the 11 senses, and the 5 sense realms. Now, here's something new. So, the field is who we are, us, men. We have the great elements, and presume it's water and wind and earth and fire and ether or space. That's usually considered to be the elements, but it could be something else. It could be more. It could be less. I guess. But what it means is we made out of physical. We have our physical form that's made out of different physical things like water and acid and flesh and blood and pus. So, well, urine or whatever, pus. Oh. Mm. And we also have our individuality, which is uniqueness. There's no snowflakes which are the same anywhere, anywhere. No two snowflakes are alike. And that includes not just Earth, it's all the other planets, anywhere. Big old space. No two snowflakes are alike. Or, well, maybe they're alike, they're not the same. No two flakes are the same. So, individuality, yeah. Understanding means Homo sapien. I understand certain things. But even a monkey can understand certain things. Even an ant can understand certain things. Even a bacteria, it understands hunger. It feels hunger. It feels the need, desire to eat and shit, and that's all. Maybe a bacteria does, but it understands. We're not bacteria. We understand so much more. But we do have understanding, and we do have individuality, just like bacteria. Even though bacteria are very more alike than us, they're still individual. Unmanifest nature means Buddha nature, means God consciousness, means the the essence of life, the essence of death, essence of things, essence of nothing, just the essence, the unmanifest nature, God. The 11 senses and the 5 sense realms. Well, I can tell you what 5 sense realms is. It's a realm of all the smell, realm of all the hearing, realm of the taste, the realm of the sight, and realm of the touch. Well, why is it realm? Is because for people, let's say, who are blind and deaf and blind, and don't have any taste buds, they drink some acid or something, killed all the taste buds, uh, and destroyed all their nose, the smell buds, the smell thing, the thermal, whatever it smells in our nose. All they can get information from is their, their touch, and this is like it's a realm. There's a lot of touch things out there. They live in this touch. They don't live in our world. But um, here it also talks about 11 senses, and I've never encountered 11 senses because I studied Buddhism a little bit. I read Buddhist books, and in Buddhism we have 8 senses. With 5 senses are basic flesh senses, and the 6th sense would be the sense of mind. You sense thoughts, you sense feelings, which are solidified thoughts, emotions. You sense them, and that's like a sense. And there's also a sense of unconsciousness, like in your consciousness, your whole karmic unconsciousness. It goes back eons and eons, all your lifetimes. There's been something left there in your big unconsciousness. That's why sometimes people are, for example, how it reflects in the ordinary life is by basic sense of liking and not liking. So sometimes you like something, and sometimes you don't, and that's based on your past. And sometimes your past, usually people are, um, about the relatively short past that they lived. Sometimes they forget even a lot of things in that, but our past of who we are spends lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. And sometimes things burn up, the attachments to the certain characteristics, and sometimes they remain. So it's a sense, the 7th sense of liking and not liking. And the 8th sense is a sense of being, like I am, like I'm a person, I exist, this is me, I'm having this experience, I'm talking to you. I is a sense. It's an 8th sense. In reality, just like people who are blind, they lack a sense of sight. It is possible to lack a sense of I and live in 7 senses instead of 8. Yeah, you can lose the sense of I. It has been done before by people. So that's part of yoga. When you lose the sense of I, then you just become that. You know how they got in yoga this mantra. I forgot the Sanskrit words, but in English it means I am that. So they say, I am that, I am that, I am that. Because this it's all about the boundary between ourselves and the world around us, or how we perceive it. So you drop the sense of self, you become that. I am that. But here in the book, it talks about 11 senses, and I don't know what they are. So maybe I'll go home and find out. Internet is a beautiful thing. Or maybe we'll talk about it. Krishna, he he likes to talk. He says he hints on something, and then he gives an explanation. Usually, reading this book, I tell you one thing. Um, it's layered, one after layer. Like, cause I would be reading a verse, and I'd be talking about what I think about it, and then in the next verse, it would be what I was talking about it, because as I talk, I build up, and then this book it also builds up, so we kind of build up together. So here we go: longing, hatred, happiness, suffering, bodily form, consciousness, resolve. Thus is the field, with its changes defined in summary. Uh, hmm. Well, as ourselves, as people, we have feelings and emotions like longing. Longing would mean we want things. Like, I long for peace. I desire a nice, warm bed. Oh. Well, longing does not necessarily mean attachment, though. Because attachment is like, I can't let it go. Oh, this bed is so good. I don't want to get up. I don't want to go to work. I want to sleep. That's attachment. But longing is like, oh, I've been working so hard. I long for rest in my bed. And then there's hatred. It's like, hatred is hatred is stupid. I'm not gonna go talking about hatred. I'm just gonna say hatred is stupid. And then there is happiness. Well, we all know what happiness is. But do we? It comes in many different forms and shapes. Hey, I recommend to all the listeners to go on a field trip to happiness. Explore happiness. You know how we go to a museum and explore the museum, looking at all different paintings and fancy pieces of art and statues and whatever there is in the museum. Check out happiness. You know how much you can get happy from a lot of things, not just one thing. Go explore, get yourself happy. See how happy can you get. What is this happiness thing? It's a great thing to study. I'm a student of happiness personally. Hatred, that's why I don't want to talk about it because I'm not a student of it. I don't have much to say. I think that it's stupid. And the conversation about hatred, suffering. Suffering is an interesting thing. I'm also a student of suffering. You know, suffering is existing. Just being is suffering. Suffering can be gross or can be really subtle. For example, gross suffering is you're walking on the street and the mugger comes to you and hits you with a gun on the head and takes your wallet. That's pretty painful. That's some gross suffering. And then there's like a little lesser suffering. It's like, oh, you spent $5 playing lotto, and you didn't win anything. It's it still hurts. It's still suffering. It's just much on a lesser scale than um, than getting mugged and robbed. Or it can be like on a really mild scale. You know, you're gonna die one day. Yeah, ain't gonna be you no more. You know what? Your loved ones, they're gonna die too. They ain't gonna be there no more. Well, it's like just this subtle knowledge is somewhere in the back of our minds, and it's kind of painful. Just knowing that we're gonna die. So we try not to think about it. We try not to think about that we're gonna die. But I tell you this thing: if you think about it and acknowledge it, then you might have a much fuller and better life. Yeah, check it out. Actually, there's in Buddhism there's 8 kinds of suffering. Let's see, there's suffering of birth. We're born crying. It's pretty painful to come out, to be there in our warm little cocoon for 9 months, and then come out getting squeezed out of this tight thing and this pain and bright light and uh, the doctor's palm slapping us on the ass and we cry and yeah, it's pretty painful to be a newborn. You guys know why newborn gets slapped on the butt? Cause when they get born, they don't really breathe. We don't breathe, so sometimes we need to get a slap so we can take and start breathing because we don't breathe inside the belly. And so there's birth and old age. Old age is suffering. I'm getting older, you guys. I looked in the mirror the other day. I saw a gray hair. I was like, shit, I got a gray hair. I looked at my other side. I had 2 gray hair, and they're saying like they're symmetrical. I got 2 gray hairs. Oh man, I'm not a kid anymore. I'm getting old. I might have to use one of those dark hair, like get a marker and mark my black hair, like white hair, so nobody can see my white hair. But some people, I've met people who got gray hair when they're 20s or even teens. And some people get gray hair when they're in their 40s or 50s. I haven't really met I haven't met any old people like past 60 without any gray hairs. But maybe there are. I think it's genetic how we as people get gray hair. So there's birth and there's old age. Yeah, we're getting older every day. Well, there's a lot of beauty in getting older. But, you know, there's a little suffering there too. So that's why we call it suffering. And then there is sickness. Ugh, I get sick and I feel crappy, and sometimes you have a baby and your baby gets sick, and you feel crappy too because your baby is sick and the baby feels bad. Yeah, illness is not a nice thing. We don't want to get ill. We don't want to get sick. It causes us to suffer. So thus we have suffering of illness, birth, old age, sickness, and death. Well, I already talked about death. We're all gonna die. But there's also suffering of desire. I want a nice car. Oh, I want to fly. Oh, I want $1 million. Oh, I just want a nice girlfriend. My ex-girlfriend, she was nice. She beat me up. I want. You know what? It's not a nice feeling to want. Because when you want, you don't usually get. Well, sometimes, desire is like, I want to scratch my head. Oh, yeah, scratch my head. I feel so good. But I'm not sure about the example, but wanting, desiring things is pretty painful. It's suffering. Desire, wanting, attachment. Attachment also can go into this category. Like, there's this woman whose baby died, and she really felt attached to the baby. She waited for a really long time to have a baby. She couldn't have the baby. Then she had the baby. She was so happy, and then the baby died, and she just could not let the baby go. She just held on to the baby, and wherever she went, she carried this dead corpse with her, and the corpse was smelling, but she didn't care. She would talk about the baby as if it was alive, and once she Buddha Buddha was staying up there at the village. Buddha traveled a lot and teaching everybody. He taught princes and beggars. He was like Jesus, except everybody loved Buddha, and yeah, that's Buddha was like Jesus, except everybody loved him. He came in the right time. That's why he was Buddha. Jesus, um, he was loved by some and hated by others, because the time where he came at that time, and unfortunately, a lot of what he's taught is not being taught by the people who call themselves his lovers. Who I don't know what Christians call themselves concerning Jesus. I just know that Christianity is not what Jesus taught or preached, and I'm sure Jesus is turning in his heavenly grave, because um, this guy who was not his disciple, who his disciple's disciple, some third wave. He was a tax collector, and then this is partly history, partly my own personal story, but because Jesus, he taught the good word, he taught the good truth. I had this dream, man. It was one of his disciples. It was like his disciple John. He he was talking to me in this dream and telling me the story that uh, after Jesus died, all these disciples he went around. They went around and they were teaching what Jesus was teaching. They taught Jesus' truth, And this is all about forgiveness of sins. That sins do not have to be your dark stains, and it's not about Jesus' death that forgives sins. It's just you can always drop your sin. You don't have to be stuck to it. There was this guy in the forest up there in Judea who, well, he robbed people. He robbed people, and those whom he robbed, he cut their ears off. He cut their ears off, and he just collected the ears of the people he robbed. That was his thing. So once he came upon John, the disciple John, and John taught him what Jesus was teaching, and that's forgiveness and renunciation, and you don't have, and that one, if nobody is really a sinner, and you don't have to be stuck to sin, you can burn your karma, you can stop, and you can become a good person. You don't need to be doing this. You don't need to be stuck. And the guy, he felt remorseful, and he stopped chopping people's ears off and robbing folks. A similar story has to do with Buddha. There was this young prince. India is a big place, so in one of the kingdoms of India, there was a young prince who wanted to get some superpowers, and the vizier, or the advisor, or his teacher, he told them a really bad thing. He told them that if he kills 1,000 people with his hands, he'll get those superpowers that he wanted. So the prince, he was a gullible young man. Well, not just gullible. There was something to believe in. People don't know. People don't know. People are born not knowing. So some people are born knowing. But anyways, his karma was that he went into a forest and he started killing people. He would kill everybody that walks through the forest. It was his forest. He knew it. He sensed it. And he killed a lot of people. And everybody that he would kill, he would take a finger off and put the finger on a string, and he would wear this necklace of fingers as a remembrance of all the people he killed, and so he could keep count. And when he killed about 999 people, or so the story goes, Buddha heard about this kid. Well, he wasn't a kid anymore. He was not that young either. But he heard about him, and he decided to go through the forest. And all the people, they told him, "Don't go, Buddha. Please don't go. You're such a good person. We don't want you to die. You're gonna get killed. There's a monster living there. He will not care that you're Buddha. He'll kill you." But Buddha, he says, "Hey, I am Buddha. I'm not afraid of no monster. Watch me now, watch me." And so he walked into the forest, and he was walking, singing his songs, talking to trees and smiling in skies and stuff. And this man, he found out that Buddha was walking in the forest. So he's like, "Okay, finally, I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna kill this guy, and get my last finger, and become an immortal superhuman." So he started chasing us after Buddha so he can kill him. And Buddha was just walking leisurely, not running or nothing. And the guy was running and running. He was very good at everything, but he could not catch up to Buddha. He ran and he ran and he ran, but he could not catch up. Then he stopped. He says, "Hey, you." And Buddha says, "Yes, me? Well, yeah, yeah. What? Hi." And the guy says, "Look, dude, I am super duper this and that. I've been running after you for a long time, and you don't seem to run or anything. You're just walking, and I cannot catch up with you. What is going on here?" And Buddha looked at him. He smiled, his knowing smile, because Buddha only smiles a knowing smile. And he said, "My friend, see how you are? You're running and running, running and running, chasing something, chasing, running and running. Me? I'm not chasing anything. I'm not running. I'm just taking a walk. I'm enjoying my life. Why don't you come and join me? And we can enjoy life too. We don't need to chase something that cannot be chased. We don't need to go after anything. We can just enjoy life as it is, with its goods and bads. Ordinary, beautiful life. Take a breath in, breathe it out. Savor the air, how good it feels to breathe. Feel the sensations of the air hitting your nostrils, going inside your nostrils. Feel it brushing in the back of your throat, going inside your lungs. Hey, with air comes prana or chi. Air carries prana. Air might only go into the lungs, but prana, once it enters us, it becomes a part of us, and we can guide it anywhere we want to. So that's why breathe with your belly, with your diaphragm. And as you breathe in, you can breathe inside your stomach. There is no lungs there. You don't breathe the air in your stomach. You breathe the prana. And you can breathe into your sore arm, for example, or a leg. As you breathe, think that the air that you breathe are going where your muscle hurts, when you have an ache. Sit there, breathe like this for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Breathe in your chakras. The simple formula of how it works is mind controls the chi. Chi controls the body. So here what we're doing is we're sending chi or prana where we want it to be, but in places that need more energy. Now, I was talking about attachments, right, or sufferings. There's birth, old age, sickness, and death, attachment, desire, and then there is aversion, hatred, not liking things. Well, hatred is hatred. Hatred would be extreme. But aversion in its basic forms is like, hey, I don't want to get sick. I'm afraid of getting sick. I'm not sick yet, but I'm afraid of getting sick. I'm gonna stay away from sick people. It's like, well, this is maybe a little bit paradoxal, or I don't know, stupid. But that's not stupid. It's real. Aversion. Um, let's see. Oh, there's a homeless bum. He smells bad. I don't want to even look at him. I feel the sensation of aversion, and it's not pleasant one. It's kind of like it makes you feel icky, and or looking at the rotten corpse. You feel averse, but it's a suffering. And a funny thing about aversions is that we can deal with them and we can work through them, and like every sensation can be experienced and transcended, or can be experienced and attached to, and it becomes a character, becomes you, and that's when we start having problems. But the best thing is to acknowledge and let it go through you. Feel it, but don't get stuck on it. Don't get stuck. So there is also the suffering of not knowing. Ah, I don't know if there is life on other planets. I think there is. Some people say there isn't. I don't know. I would rather know. I would like to know, but I don't. And there's no way I can find out right now. I don't know. I can find out. Oh, I'm sad about it. Not really. I'm not really, really sad, but there's maybe a little sadness there, not knowing. And then there's also the funniest sadness. Funniest, oh, not the funniest, but the most interesting one. It's the subtlest of them all. It is the suffering of suffering. You just sit there and be and notice how you are, and the fact that you are does not let you rest in peace. When you rest in peace, you are peace, but then you're DD. But an interesting thing is that we can cut out this sense of self, and then we're always in peace. Yeah. So there's a lot, this is all alchemical things. This physical form, this subtle forms, this astral bodies, there's sensations, there's thoughts, there's a lot of things in this world. And then there's, of course, the uncreated, vast ocean of pitch black light. So let's go. Longing, hatred, happiness, suffering, bodily form. Yeah, we're talking about field up here. Krishna talked about field as a self, like who we are. So we can know everything through like just ourselves, our body functions, our senses, our mind, feelings. And he's describing this self, this field. So this field has a bodily form. Yeah, we have a body. It feels. Yeah. And consciousness. Well, consciousness. We have certain awareness. That's what consciousness is. Resolve. I'm not sure exactly what it is. Maybe like satisfaction when we accomplish something. I'm not sure. Thus is this field with its changes defined as in summary. So yeah, I guess he's kind of short on the summary here, but I'm pretty sure it's self-explanatory that what he means is that our bodies are big things, and there's body and there's all this emotions, and there's a lot to explore. This field is vast and large and big, so it really does take a wise man to know the field of self. Knowledge. Oh, this is Krishna already talking. Knowledge means humility, sincerity, non-violence, patience, honesty, reverence for one's teacher, purity, stability, self-restraint. Ah. So here he's not talking about ordinary knowledge as they teach in school or something. Or, when we're born, we don't know anything, then our parents talk to us, that we come to know words and how to make sentences and stuff. We acquire a certain knowledge of this and that. Here, Krishna talks about knowledge of self, of things, like of who we are, And the first thing that he says humility. Humility does not mean seeing yourself lower than somebody else. Humility means not seeing oneself higher than somebody else. Humble. Humble doesn't mean, spit upon or whatever, or ass kisser. Humble. Humble means, Krishna. He goes around slaying all the monsters. But he doesn't go around bragging about it. He's just, oh yeah, it's just, it's just what I do. Nothing special. He's humble. Sincerity. Well, that's kind of like honesty. When you come to know yourself, hey man. Well, when we come to know ourselves, we can't help but to be honest. Because when we lie, well, see, inside your eye, I see myself. And if I was to lie to you, I was to lie to myself. And people who know themselves do not need to lie. Thus, they are sincere. Nonviolence. Well, nonviolence means, I think, what it means is that not necessary violence. Because this is a book about war. War is pretty violent. But also Krishna talks about duty. And duty of prince whose kingdom is being attacked is to defend the kingdom and defend the people. It's the holy duty of a prince. Prince gotta do it. If he was, let's say, if the prince was, before that work happened, he was relinquished his throne and went away into austeritism, well, his job would have been, his duty would have been to be an ascetic for that time being. But duty of a prince that's being attacked is to protect the people. But here, nonviolence would mean is not to be an attacker, not to attack, not to hurt others on purpose. It comes out of ego. Well, and sometimes it can also mean things even like to be a vegetarian. I mean, if you're gonna take it to an extreme, because we don't really need to kill all the animals, and we do, and this mass produced. Like there's so much meat up here in America. Usually back in the days, people ate meat once a week, once a month. Nowadays, every meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner has some meat in it. I open people's refrigerator, and there is nothing but meat products. So it's a pretty violent society we live in. But but everybody, be where you are. It's okay to eat meat. It's just if you choose to be a more sensible person, to be a more non-violent person, to be a more non-violent person, I recommend maybe going vegetarian, maybe going vegan. If you get to know how milk is made and how cheese is made, and if you come to know all the stuff and watch it happen, you know it's pretty violent, really. They have to keep cows pregnant all the time. They have to keep them pregnant. They don't give birth. They just it's bad. It's not bad. It's nice. It's ordinary. This is like life. People have adapted this and put it in everywhere for thousands of years. But if you think about it more from a aesthetic point of view, it's kind of inhumane to keep a cow pregnant for 12 months just so you can have milk and cheese. So, really non-violent people can go vegan. Patience. Knowledge is patience. You know what patience is? Time. Time passes by, moment after moment, second after second, minute after minute. It's all time. We're just waiting. Waiting for things to happen, waiting for the workday to end, waiting for the waiter to come with our lunch meal. Waiting, patience. It's okay to wait. It's alright to be still and just wait. That's what knowledge is. We are patients. It's just sometimes people don't don't acknowledge themselves waiting, don't notice themselves waiting, and that causes them stress when they are forced into a rude awakening. Like, wait here for half an hour, I'll be back, and the person is not back in half an hour. The person is, let's say, back in 35 minutes. You're like, those last 5 minutes that you're supposed to. Oh, they drive you crazy. Like, where is the person? Oh. Psh. Person that knows themselves has patience. It's okay to wait. Wait. Patience is virtue, they say. Honesty. Huh? Well, we have sincerity and we have honesty. So I did talk about honesty. I guess I should talk about sincerity. Sincerity would mean coming from the heart, and honesty would mean being truthful. So I presume they're very similar intact if you think about honesty and sincerity. But uh, I think that we're honest because we're sincere. Well, often, you know, sincere, sincerely honest. Reverence for one's teacher. Hey, respect. You are my teachers. I respect you. I respect you. I respect you. I respect you as you are. You are my teacher. All of you. You know what else my teachers? Sky and the moon and the earth and the trees and everybody, everybody. That's why it's so good to respect one another. Yeah. But when it comes to me, I also got certain teachers that are more teacher than just a cloud is a teacher. For example, my Tai Chi Chuan teacher, Michael Milowski. Now, Mike is a Tai Chi Chuan teacher. He taught many people, and he teaches many people, and he will teach me. He's a great teacher. I really respect the guy. I have reverence towards him. And why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't anybody respect someone that wants to share some knowledge with one another? Purity. Hey, you ever done a detox? Do a detox. Get yourself a little purity. Hey, I'm telling you, you will feel great. Master Cleanser, 28 days. You drink a glass of water with salt in the morning, a constipation tea in the evening, and all day you drink water with cayenne pepper and lemon. Freshly squeezed lemon. Oh, and you also eat a tablespoon of maple syrup. That's all for 28 days. You know what? Try it out. It's not that bad. After 3 days, you don't feel any hunger. The hunger goes away. Then you just feel energetic. Yeah, I said energetic. You don't feel tired. You feel happy. Yeah, I said, you don't feel tired. You feel happy and energetic. Try to purify your body once. You might like it. People who do it time to time, often, and they stay fit and in shape and pure. And you can purify your body, and you can also purify your mind. Oh, you can also purify your body by not eating some junk food and stuff like that. And you can purify your mind through meditating, through sitting there, emptying your consciousness, seeing your negativities, positivities, just letting go of thoughts and emotions, coming to a more pure and clean state. Purity is wonderful. Stability. Hey, I'm a regular, stable loose cannon. I'm very stable. I am in control, but you know what? I change. You never know what you're gonna get out of me. But certain things you can expect not to get out of me. But I don't know. Stability. As meditation, we want to have a stable mind. And say first, when people often come to meditation, they have what's called a monkey mind. You tell a person, okay, sit there with a straight back, put your tongue on their upper palate, relax your arms, relax your legs, just sit there, be straight, and put your mind on your breath. Put your mind on your breath and just do it. You know what? The mind all goes to the breath for what? 3 seconds, and then it starts thinking about something else. Goes into storylines and cartoons and whatever. But where's the stability? Stability is like it's gone. The mind is a monkey mind, like a wild horse it is. And then you have a stable mind. Okay, you put the mind on your breath and it stays there. It listens to you. Stability. Like, Stability. Oh, I'm gonna quit drinking. Oh, 3 days have passed. I haven't drank in a lot. Oh shit. My buddy came with a case of beer. Okay, I'll just drink one beer. Where's the stability? Oh, sometimes people go to AA just to reinforce their stability. Some people don't need to go to AA. So yeah, stability is something that that is our essence. Our essence is very stable. It's always there. Um, Self-restraint. Well, self-restraint is ability. Well, it also goes with the whole thing. Self-restraint is ability to say no. Hey, so you're sitting in class listening to a boring teacher. No, teachers making you fall asleep, and there is your friend. He's out there in the window playing playing hooky, and you're like, hey, I really want to go play hooky with my friend, but I got an exam. I got a physics exam tomorrow, and this is a physics class. I better stay here and listen to the boring teacher and not play hooky. Self-restraint. Um, and that's the quality of self. You know, we can just a self that knows self. When you know self, you can say, oh, I'm not gonna do it, and you just don't do it, and it doesn't bother you anymore. Self-restraint is an ordinary thing. It's like comes out of patience. Self-restraint is very linked with patience. These qualities are all linked. Um, so we go on to the next verse. Dispassion towards sense objects and absence of individuality, seeing the defects in birth, death, old age, sickness, and suffering. So here we are still are talking about what the self that knows self is like, and I think that because self is infinitely deep, it's always good to be on a path, on a road that leads inward. So we might not be there right now, but if we are on a road that leads to this place that this these verses are talk about, we're doing something good for ourselves and others. It's not about the goal, it's about being on the path. So so these are the qualities of enlightenment. Enlightened self. Dispassion toward sense objects and absence of individuality. Well, I don't know if these are qualities of enlightened mind, I tell you one thing. But in reality, it could be. Look at the mind. Mind, in its purity as mind is the same mind for everybody. We all have this mind. Not individual mind, but mind. Underneath all this individuality, there's just basic mind. So, dispassion towards sense objects would mean that, you know, I like ice cream. Ice cream tastes good, but I'm not. If I don't get to eat ice cream, I'm okay. If somebody says you want to eat ice cream, I says okay, and then they come like, oh, there's no more ice cream. I would not go sad that there isn't ice cream. That's what dispassion means. It doesn't mean that I should not like ice cream. It just means that I will not be sad if I find out there's I will never eat ice cream again, ever. No. And absence of individuality. Well, it's an interesting thing. In reality, there is no such thing as individual. If you look at yourself, you are not the same person that you were 10 years ago or 50 years ago. You're not the same person you will be tomorrow. The change will be slight from today to tomorrow, but it will be there. You're not going to be the same person. So, who are you as an individual? There's no such thing as I am that, I am this, you know? It's just I'm change from one moment to another. And we can invent our own individuality. Like, I am Chili Chill. I'm here to entertain. I sing and dance and tell stories and jokes and things like that. You know what? This Chili Chill guy is a product of my imagination. I made him, and I'm making him, and I will make him till the day I die. Maybe. Maybe. I don't know about that. I don't know about anything. Yeah. So, uh, absence of individuality is a reality, but a lot of people are not aware of it. They're not aware because they think that there's somebody. I am Bill Jones, the multimillionaire. I'm like Bill Gates. I am this. I am that. You know what? We're all equal on this boat. I'm just nobody, man. I can be anybody. Hey, we're all the same. Seeing the defects in birth, death, old age, sickness, and suffering. Hey, it's called waking up to realities of life. Yep. And this is existence. And what the book says that once you come to know who you are, then you're aware of it, but it doesn't bother you. Detachment, uninvolvement with sons, wife, and home, constant equanimity in fulfillment and frustration. Detachment, uninvolvement with sons, wife, and home. Not very Christian, is it? uh, well, I guess it says here that and this talks to mostly guys, but okay, yes, you know, it's like wives or husbands, doesn't really matter, sons or daughters, but we have a sort of male-dominated society. We have, yeah, it's been that way for quite a long time, I suppose. So, pardon the writers for being male. Interesting thing is, a lot of people say that the age that's coming is gonna be the age of a mother, of a woman, of of birth. So, back in the days before the white man came, the women were picking the elders, and when the white people came here, all the tribe chiefs, they went to meet them, and they brought their wives with them, cause that's a normal thing to do, you know. Two of us decide better than just one. Wife can see something. And the white folk, they was like, "Hey, you stupid Indians! Why you bring this woman folk over? Take this woman folk back home. Let them eat, cook dinner, and look after kids. Let the man do man thing, and women do they thing." Yeah, that's what colonization is all about. putting some stupid thoughts into people and making them into your slaves. Nah. Yeah. I'm not a fan of slavery. So, so being married, having kids is a form of slavery, isn't it? And here it says detachment and involvement with son's wife and home. That's what. That's what. That's what the people who know themselves are like, because, well, you can't prioritize um, your wife and kids over your co-workers and your job and just life. That's why it says here constant equanimity. All is equal. Everybody is important. Like my teacher Cheng Cheng was a Dao. He was a Tai Chi Chuan teacher and a professor in university, and he knew Chinese medicine, and he wrote books and painted paintings. He had a very equanimous eye on things. He had a wife and he had kids, but he didn't prioritize his wife and kids over his students or his school or his arts, um, or his medicine. Everything was of one taste to him. So, sometimes uh, kid can skip being tutored by daddy, because so daddy has to heal a dying baby, because the kid can go find online tutor, and the baby's gonna die. Hey, sorry for giving such extreme examples, but life is extreme at times. So so it might sound not very Christian, but it's very human. Because this is about being human. This book is about how to be a more fuller human. All of spirituality is about being a human. It's not about being somebody else. It's about being who you are, who we are, knowing who we are, realizing our potentials and our impurities. So, whether we're happy or sad, we are okay with it. Peace. Unwavering devotion to me that's Krishna talking. Unwavering devotion to me with singular discipline, retreating to a place of solitude, avoiding worldly affairs. Here he goes a little bit extreme. He says, people who know, they just want to know. They want to abide in this field. And the best way to go and come to know the field, come to know themselves, is going someplace away from the world, not meddling internet, and not going on dates or not going to school, just going someplace and spending some time alone and checking out who you are. Persistence in knowing the self, seeing what knowledge of reality means, all this is called knowledge. The opposite is ignorance. So, I was talking earlier about the road, the path, the inward path, the path of discovery of reality of who we are. And through that reality, we come to know the outside reality. Because all that we know from the outside, we know inside. And staying on this path, walking this path is coming to know oneself, which leads to knowledge, which leads to bliss, and the opposite is not getting to know the inner dimensions of self, always running after material things. It's called ignorance. I shall teach you what is to be known, for knowing it, one attains immortality. It is called the Supreme Infinite Spirit, beginningless, neither being nor non being. So here Krishna is, being being his own Krishna. Krishna being Krishna says, I'm gonna tell you the real deal. I'm gonna tell you how you can get to such a state where there's no more anything that dies. A state of eternity, immortality. The state of pure, infinite spirit that has no beginning, has no end, which is neither is nor it isn't. It's not conceptual with a dualistic mind. It is um, it is non-dual, where there is it's indescribable in words. You kind of can point at it, you can talk about it a little bit somewhat, but you cannot describe it. Its hands and feet reach everywhere. Its head and face see in every direction. Hearing everything, it remains in the world, enveloping all. So this existence of non-existence, beyond existence, transcendental state is at all places, at all times. It's the essence of life and everything. Lacking all the sense organs, it shines in their qualities. Unattached, it supports everything. Without qualities, it enjoys them. So because it is infinite, it is not anything. It lacks the sense organs. But because it is purity, it is in every moment that would be in every particle that's with sense. It's there. It's the spirit. It's the spirit that senses. It lacks it. It lacks this. It's not a thing, but it's there in everything, and it doesn't grasp anything. It's just open, like things enter your mind, which is open. It's open. It's not attached to any. It just remains open, and it supports everything. It, without it, there would be nothing. But there's not nothing. There's everything, and not that there isn't nothing. There's nothing, and there's everything, and there's neither everything or nothing. There's everything is there. There's a lot of things. But this thing by itself, it doesn't really have any qualities. You can say it is red, it is hot, it is blissful, it is sad. It doesn't have any qualities. It just has a sense of enjoyment. It's like, I suppose people call it bliss, but it's not like, oh, I'm blissed out. It's more like, you know what? Breathe in, breathe out. Nothing special, right? But there's certain peace in it, which is kind of joyous. We enjoy breathing. Please enjoy breathing. Outside and within all creatures, inanimate but still animate, too subtle to be known, it is far distant yet near. So, it's there, it's here, it's inside of us, it's outside of us, it's alive, it's dead, it moves, it doesn't move. It is impossible to know, yet it's there, it's too far, and it's close, it's everywhere. Yeah. Undivided, it seems divided among creatures. Understood as their sustainer, it devours and creates them. So even though it is one, it is. It seems that, oh, I have it here, it is there, it's some of this, some of that. There's not this or that. It's just all one, the whole existence. Om, Om, Om Shanti Shanti Om. And it's the mother and the father and the grave digger and the death bringer. It creates and destroys. It just is. This is a circle of life. The light of lights. Beyond darkness it is called. Knowledge attained by knowledge, fixed in the heart of everyone. Like the heart of hearts, like the light of lights. The essence of light. Because an interesting thing, that darkness is just is, right? Then there's light that illuminates and eliminates the darkness. And beyond darkness would be, darkness is that which is, and on the other side of darkness, there's light. And there is this light of lights. Knowledge attained by knowledge, fixed in the heart of everyone. Well, what we know is gotten through careful examination by what we know. And we come to know inside our hearts. It's who we are. We are our hearts, heart minds. There's a word in Sanskrit, Asian cultures. They have a word for heart mind, which is basically who we are. Not our heart, not our mind, but heart mind, both together. So, in summary, I have explained the field and knowledge of it. A man devoted to me, knowing this, enters into my being. So here Krishna says that, well, he talked briefly about what the person is, who we are, and how to come to know who we are. And if you really, really, really want to get to know yourself, study yourself and enter yourself and be one with yourself. Knowing that both nature and man's spirit have no beginning, that qualities and changes have their origin in nature. Let me read it again. Know that both nature and man's spirit have no beginning, that qualities and changes have their origin in nature. So Buddha nature, the essence of everything, just the essence of mind, nature of mind, nature of spirit, the place where spirit is born, which is not born. It's born. It has no beginning, so it's just always there. It's all there is, and always has been. And everything that changes, all the appearances. If you look around, there's appearances. All the stuff is change, appearances. All comes from that source. All comes from that beginningless nature of mind. For its agency in producing effects, nature is called a cause. In the experience of joy and suffering, man's spirit is called a cause. So, as we go around, things happening, that's just nature, the world. But as we go through life, we experience different states of mind, like happy, sad, glad, wanting, desirous, hateful, jealous, blissful. That the cause of those states are a spirit of man. Oh, maybe we can call it our soul, but it's not really soul. It's more of our jah, ourselves, who we think. If I go and say who we think we are, then I would be talking about our ego, and our ego is not our spirit, but it is this maybe a will. It's not exactly a will either, because the man's spirit is very accurate, and it's not an easy thing to describe. But maybe I could say that what drives us to go forward, whether we want to or not, but we still are moving forward, and that's our spirit, and that's the cause of all the mind states, such as joy and suffering. Man's spirit is set in nature, experiencing the qualities born in nature. Its attachment to the qualities causes birth in the wombs of good and evil. So, man's the spirit of man, this will, what pushes us forward, is is all dependent. It's all arisen from nature, from what outside. We are a product of our environments, partly, but a lot of it is just because of outside. That's how. That's why I speak English. Nature gave me this language, eh? And when this spirit, when this will to go on, this force gets well, we can also call it ego, I suppose, but this it's not ego. It's the ego without any flavor. How does that sound? Ego is like flavors of ego, but you take out the flavors, then it's just pure basic spirit. So the spirit is when it gets attached to certain emotions like aversion or pleasurable feelings. That's what gives birth to good and evil. Witness, consenter, sustainer, enjoyer. The great Lord is called the highest self, man's true spirit in this body. Yeah, as we live our lives, we witness our lives. This witness is is the one that says, "Oh, it's okay. You know, we're gonna live another day." Is the spirit is says, "Hey, buddy, you better go get something to eat." This thing is like, "Oh, what a fun have what a good times I'm having." It is it is like the thing that controls us. It's our Lord. This is who we are. This is the real deal of us. If you take away all the flavors of self, then there is just pure self, which is the same for everybody, except it's very individual. There's no self that are like snowflakes. Somewhat of a paradox, isn't it? But so true it is. If you think about it, it's logical, but it sounds somewhat illogical. But don't listen to me. Take a look at it again yourself. Listen to my tape or something. Yeah. So, by may hold up. No, knowing the nature and the spirit of man as well as the qualities of nature, one is not born again, no matter how one now exists. So when you get to know the world, and you get to know yourself, that spirit, you don't have to come back to live another life after you die, because you will find peace. There's no need to go on through the same shit again when you have peace. That's what peace is all about. Not needing to go through drama. Even though, you know what? I love this life. I love this drama. I don't think I want to go through this peace because I'm at peace up here. Ah. So Buddha was walking with a couple of his friends, and one friend was enlightened, and that one was not enlightened. And the enlightened guy, he says, "Ah, what a beautiful, perfect world we live in." And the guy was not enlightened. He says, "You crazy dude. It's like, man, look at that. There's people dying. There's people sick. There's hungry, man. It's not a beautiful world." And Buddha says, "You know what, guys? There's no need to argue. The world is beautiful and not beautiful at the same time, because samsara and nirvana are inseparable." So, by meditating on the self, some men see the self through the self. Others see by philosophical discipline. Others by the discipline of action. So, here we say, after people come to know the reality through seeing themselves, through learning about themselves, and some people come to know reality through observing rituals and coming to know the meanings of rituals and symbols and all that stuff. Or some people come to know about it by um, following the ways of logic, getting to know getting to itty gritty nitty things by treating the realm of intellect, intelligence, maybe by negating that which isn't, and you know, if you come there through logic by negating, this is not a book, this is not me, this is not this is not that, you come to see the empty state of things and how um, emptiness and suchness are inseparable. Because emptiness is suchness. Emptiness is form, formless emptiness. Gari gari parasam gari bodhi soha. It's come from the Heart Sutra, the essence of Heart Sutra, because Heart Sutra is this mantra and the little story that goes behind the mantra, and then there's Heart Sutra in 30,000 lines and 100,000 lines and 300,000 lines. So I think it came out into being in the in first century AD by this fella named Nagarjuna, who was a Brahmin and a Buddhist. The king of the at one time he was staying in a monastery, practicing tantric meditations, which were not practiced in the monastery because they do something else, and the monks found out about it and they wanted to kill him or something like that. But then the king decided to have a test, and Nagarjuna says, "Okay, let's build a big bucket of water, big tub of water, and I'll jump in, and then another monk will jump in, and whoever swims is more accomplished." So he jumped in and he was swimming, and the other monk jumped in and he sunk and died. And then they had another test where Nagarjuna says, "Okay, one I drink a cup of lead, and some monk would drink a cup of lead, and whoever lives, he's there, you know." So he lived, and the other monk died. And I guess they said, "Okay, enough. We don't need any more monks dead. You are a realized person. We apologize. You're free to go." So Nagarjuna, he got himself a pretty girl from one of the from the king's harem, and they went into the wilderness. Yeah. I mean, oh no, maybe no, this is Haraha. This got a whole bunch of these Buddhist saints, which have really nice stories. So let's go back to the book. Others, despite their ignorance, revere what they hear from other men. They too cross beyond death, intent on what they hear. So some people, even though they don't really do much of the essential things, important things themselves, they listen to the men that make talk sense, and they understand those men. And when the time comes and death comes, they do what needs to be done because they know, as they listen to men who knew. Arjuna, know that anything inanimate or alive with motion is born from the union of the field and its knower. So he says, Krishna does, that anything that has change, that moves, like atoms are moving, for example. So anything basically that is alive or not really alive, but it comes into existence through it's like, is the not a holographic theory, is the quantum theory, quantum mechanics. It says that because you witness it, that's why it's there. There's a witnesser and there's a field, the self that it is a witness. There's a witnesser and there's a witness. There's everything else. So here Krishna is having a little lecture on quantum physics. He really sees, who sees the highest Lord standing equal among all creatures, undecaying amid destruction. So he, I think, means the man that knows, person that knows, the realized being sees the ultimate, sees the highest, sees the insignificance of the individual ego, how ego is born and how ego is destroyed, but that which is the highest, it is uncreated. So it is there everywhere and it's all equal to everybody, it's impartial. And it's there, so the person in the knowledge knows it. Seeing the Lord standing the same everywhere, the self cannot injure itself and goes the highest way. So once you realize that, once you come to realize God, then you cannot do any wrong. And you get to follow the good road. He really sees who sees that all actions are performed by nature alone and that the self is not an actor. So once people get to know the essence of things, they see that there's just nothing but nature. It just happens. There's no such thing as self. It's just like a big machine and it's working, and all of this is not really anything because there's nothing, and it's everything, and it's hard to talk about it because it is non-dual. The self is not an actor, but because there is no self, but then again, right now in my mind there are some scrambled eggs. Would you like some? Let's move on to the next verse. When he perceives the unity existing in separate creatures and how they expand from unity, he attains the infinite spirit. When a person sees that he or she themselves are not separate from all other creatures and beings, and how we're all interrelated to each other, and we are just one in a way being, how everything is just one, then we get to attain the ultimate, the infinite spirit. Beginningless, without qualities, the Supreme Self is unchanging. Even abiding in a body, Arjuna, it does not act, nor is it defiled. So this godhood, this Buddhahood, this unborn nature, it's supreme. It doesn't have any flavor, it's just there. It's always enjoying that which is. And it doesn't matter to it whether it feels, whether there is purity or impurity, negativity or positivity. It's just there. It's at peace. It is peace. It's the empty quality of us. So you gotta experience it, you gotta look for it and perceive it and then abide in it. Just as all pervading space remains unsullied in its subtlety, so the self in everybody remains unsullied. So the spirit, the essence, the pure soul, one might say, not the ego remnants of whatever, but the purity, our Buddha nature, is always pure. Like the space is always big and vast. But as the self, it goes through lives, it always remains pure and unstained by anything. It's always there. It's the Buddha nature, and it's always accessible. But it is said that it's much easier to access this by being a human being than by anybody else, because animals lack the intellectual capacity. Their form is not sufficient enough, and they always live in desire and fear, desire for food and fear of enemies. And gods in the godly realms, heaven's heavenly realms, they live in pleasure and happiness, and it's hard for them to notice the suffering, and that's kind of ignorant of them. So ignorance does not lead to the fruition. Just as one sun illuminates this entire world, so the master of the field illuminates the entire field. Well, the sun, it shines. We get to see because thank the sun. And a person who becomes a master of self, comes to know self, become a fully actualized human being. The person coming to know oneself comes to know all selves. The person illuminates not just oneself, but the whole entire world. Yep. They reach the highest state who with the eye of knowledge know the boundary between the knower and its field, and the freedom creatures have from nature. So, if you want to get there, if you want to get to the peak of the pyramid, the peak of the mountain, Meru, if you want to get to the ultimate, you gotta have some intelligence. You gotta observe. You gotta see that which is. You gotta see that, you gotta get this knowledge. You gotta have an eye of knowledge. That instead of assuming things, it sees things. It knows things. And it knows the boundary between self and self. Or up here it says nowhere and its field, but the field is a self, who we are. And the knower, that's like a reflection of the Buddha nature. Hmm? And you also gotta see with your eye of knowledge the how nature bonds people, uh, how we get our hands chained with desire, how we get our legs chained with aversion, or our minds, our necks chained with ignorance. And by knowing, we can get away from the chains and liberate ourselves and be free and happy and more human. But how can we be more human? We already are human. It's just all about being human, being humane, being a person, being peaceful, being loving. Sometimes doing what you gotta do. Sometimes abstaining from actions. No. Live. Keep your eyes open and don't forget to breathe. And like my friend Tim from the Post Monday says, think in a poetic fashion. Have a beautiful day or night or whatever time it is. Goodbye. See you next week, maybe.